Hello students, in this lecture we will learn that in case we apply the momentum theory when we are considering the wake formation, then what is the analysis. Okay, so this lecture is in concern of the momentum theory applied on wind turbine when we are considering the wake formation. In the previous lecture I did tell about the momentum theory when we are not considering the wake. So here we will first of all learn that what the wake is, then we will do the further analysis. Okay, this is the wind turbine we can see, and this is the wind coming in axial direction. What happens when the wind strikes the blades and then go away, then it starts whirling. You can see these red colored lines are showing the whirl of wind. So this wind which is leaving the blade after doing its job is called as wake. Okay, and the rotation, the direction of rotation of the wake is always opposite to the direction of rotation of rotor. Okay, so in case we are viewing from this right to left, then this blade is moving in anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so when the wind will leave, it will start spinning in clockwise direction, opposite to the direction of rotation of this blade. Okay, why it is so? It can be understood like this. Suppose I am taking a cut section of the blade. Okay, and this is the top view. So wind is striking, doing its job. So blade is moving in tangential direction. Suppose right hand side is tangential direction. So ultimately every action has equal and opposite reaction. So after imparting the momentum, the wind will move in opposite direction, almost opposite we can see. This is the reason that after leaving the blade, the wake starts spinning in opposite direction compared to the direction of spin of rotor. Okay, now this is the front view of the wind turbine. These are the three blades. Okay, so suppose the rotor is spinning with angular velocity omega r. So we can see that the blade is moving in one direction, say clockwise. So blade's angular velocity is say omega r. So when the wind leaves the blade, okay, it becomes wake. So its angular velocity is omega w, and we can see that directions are opposite. Okay, now suppose I am considering a very thin ring at a distance r, an imaginary ring through which wind is passing and striking this blade system. So this is the front view, this is the side view. Okay, so imagine that a wind ring is there, wind ring which is moving in axial direction, ultimately strikes the blade and becomes wake. So this is wind ring out, this is wind ring in. Okay, whose thickness is dr and radius is r. So initially the ring has no rotation, so the angular velocity of ring initially 0, and finally it has angular velocity omega w. So in between, exactly in the plane of this rotor, we can take the average as the angular velocity of the wind. That's it, that is omega w plus 0 by 2, that is omega w by 2. Now what is angular induction factor? In case we are dividing this average angular velocity with the angular velocity of the rotor itself omega r, it is called as angular induction factor. And what is the tangential velocity of rotor at a distance r? It will be equals to r omega r. This we know, tangential velocity r into omega r, tangential velocity of rotor at a distance r. Okay, now what we are going to learn, first we will learn that what is angular induction factor, that is a dash. We have already learned the definition. Second, we will learn that the relation between the axial induction factor a, which we have already discussed in my previous lecture, momentum theory without considering the wake, and the relation between this a and a dash, angular induction factor, axial induction factor relation. And then we will find the Cp. Cp is called as power coefficient or efficiency of turbine by integration method. Okay, now let's apply the Bernoulli's theorem at a distance r, means the ring which we are considering. So we will apply this Bernoulli theorem, that is P1 by rho g plus V1 square by 2g plus Z1. Okay, this is the initial position, that is when it is just striking the blade, and finally is when this wind ring is out. Okay, so P1 stands for initial and P2 stands for final. So V1 stands for initial tangential velocity of the wind ring upon 2g, and Z1 is the datum height. We are choosing some datum at the ground, and distance, the height of this axis from that ground is Z1. Similarly Z2 has also the same definition. Okay, so P1 by rho g plus V1 square by 2g plus Z1 equals to P2 by rho g plus V2 square by 2g plus Z2. But Z1 equals to Z2 because it is horizontal axis, so the datum height remains the same from beginning to end. So ultimately our equation becomes this. Now V1 is the initial velocity, initial tangential velocity of the wind ring. Okay, so what it will be? See, we will take the relative velocity of this wind ring, in the relative tangential velocity of wind ring when it is going inside. See, when it is just going inside, then it has no rotation. It is purely axial direction, but this rotor is spinning with angular velocity omega r. So at a distance r, what will be the tangential velocity of the rotor? R omega r. Okay, relative tangential velocity I am saying. So relative tangential velocity of this wind ring with respect to the tangential velocity of rotor at this distance r will be r omega r minus 0. So that will be r omega r. So in place of that I have written r omega r square. Now what is the final velocity? Finally the wind ring is leaving with velocity omega w. Okay, but relative velocity with respect to this moving blade, it is spinning in opposite direction. So omega w into r is the tangential velocity of wind ring when it is becoming wake, plus the tangential velocity of the rotor, because both are moving in opposite direction. So r omega r plus r omega w will be the wind ring's relative tangential velocity when it becomes wake. Okay, so that I have written over here. So ultimately we can arrange in form of mathematical equation, that is equals to P1 minus C2, means taking the pressure terms toward left and rest of the terms toward right. Now we are getting this equation. Okay, now this P1 minus P2 can be written as del P, that is the pressure difference. Okay, now what will be the axial force imparted on that ring? That will be whatever the pressure exerted, pressure difference on that ring into the area of the ring. Okay, so simple, whatever the pressure difference into area of the ring will be what? 2 pi r into dr, the circumference into the thickness of that ring. Now in place of del P I have written this, that's it. Now this omega w by 2 will be what? It will be, we have already learnt about the angular induction factor, that is equals to this omega w by 2 by omega r equals to a dash. So omega w by 2 can be written as what? A dash into omega r. So in place of this omega w by 2 I have written a dash into omega r. Similarly only this omega w can be written as what? It will be 2 a dash omega r, that's it, according to the angular induction factor definition. So 2 a dash into omega r I have written in place of this omega w. Ultimately the equation is like this. Now I can take out omega r common. So ultimately my equation, the axial force exerted on that ring will be this, rho 2 a dash omega r square r into r square in the bracket 1 plus a dash into 2 pi r dr. This is our equation 1. Okay, now in momentum theory, without considering the wake, the equation of axial force developed on a thin ring at a distance r was this much. So theoretically they must be same. So in case we are equating the two, ultimately we are getting that 1 minus a into a upon 1 plus a dash into a dash equals to omega r square into r square upon v infinite square. Okay, so this is called as lambda r square, because omega r into r upon v infinite is called as local speed ratio. So since this is square, so lambda r square. So this we have found the relation between the axial induction factor and angular induction factor. Now further, that's what is the moment of inertia of wind ring which is going and interacting with the rotor of that thin wind ring. It will be whatever the mass of that ring, that is dm into r square, because it is ring, the ring's moment of inertia is what? mr square. So since the mass, it is very thin ring made of mass dm, so dm into r square. So initial angular momentum of the ring was what? It was 0, because when the wind ring is going and striking the rotor, initially it has no rotation. So initial angular momentum was 0. Finally it becomes wake and angular velocity becomes omega w. So final angular momentum will be the moment of inertia I omega is what angular momentum is. So dm r square I have written into omega w. Now what is the change of momentum? That is the difference of the two. So ultimately I will get this, because this minus 0 will be this. Now this is happening per second. Per unit time some mass flow rate is occurring over that ring. Therefore the rate of change of angular momentum with respect to time is what torque is. So this is what the applied torque on that thin ring we are considering. So that is equals to d tau. This is the torque. Now furthermore, in place of this Tm, what we can write, whatever the area of that thin ring, that is equals to 2 pi r dr, into the wind velocity over there, that is the Vd. So Vd into 2 pi r dr is the volume flow rate into the density of the wind will give the mass flow rate. So in place of this dm I can write this. Okay, r square omega is still over there. Now this Vd we have already learnt in the momentum theory, without considering wake, it is equals to 1 minus a into v infinite I have written. And this omega w, that according to the definition of angular induction factor can be written as 2 omega r into a dash. Okay, So that I have written over here. So ultimately the torque applied on that very thin considered ring is this much. Now torque into the angular velocity of the rotor will give the power produced at that ring. Okay, so simply I have multiplied omega r more. So ultimately my power equation is this. Now we know this thing that the power coefficient of wind turbine is given by the power output upon the power input, that is the input kinetic energy of the wind per unit time which is striking with the rotor. So half rho ad v infinity cube is the input kinetic power, and over the top it is the output power P. So in case I am differentiating with respect to P, I will get this. So I can write dCp equals to dP by this much, but dP we have already found, power developed is this much, so that I have written over here. So I can cancel some terms, so ultimately I will get dCp equals to this much. Now furthermore, this R omega upon V infinite we have already defined, it is the local speed ratio, this. So in place of this R square omega R square upon capital R square, I can write lambda R square like this. So I am getting this. Ultimately I can write this R square R into R. Now in case I am taking R by R as mu, it is called as non-dimensional radius. R is the distance from the hub at any point, arbitrary distance, and capital R is the rotor's the complete radius of the rotor. Okay, so in case I am taking this as mu, then d mu by dr will give what? 1 by r. So d mu equals to dr by r. So 1 dr by r I can write d mu, and 1 r by r I can write mu. So ultimately I will get this. So what is the total Cp in case I am integrating both the sides with limits? Okay, so what will be the limit? 1 and 0, because here variable are mu du mu. Okay, so what will be the final magnitude of mu? It will be, since it is r by r, so the final r will be capital R, so it will be 1, and at the hub it will be 0. So between 1 and 0, in case I am integrating, I will get the total coefficient of power obtained by that rotor. So hope by this small lecture you would have learnt that what is the momentum theory when we are considering the wake formation. In the next lecture we will learn the blade element method of wind turbine. Thank you.